lot of issues flying around about environmental stuff in our community over the last 6 months to a year and a half, stuff like that. There's been a lot of finger pointing, there's been a lot of misinformation out there, things that are going on in our dairy industry and our dairy community here. One of the driving forces that got me involved was the closure of the shellfish beds on Portage Bay for the Lummi Indians. We, as the dairy industry, were singled out as a contributor for closing the shellfish beds down. It was almost like a stab in the back. Over the years, we've implemented an incredible bunch of environmental practices that enhance the water quality and enhance stewardship of the land. The east boundary of our farm is Fish Trap Creek, and there was not a tree, there was no nothing there. So in cooperation with the Department of Fish and Wildlife, Department of Ecology, Nooksack Salmon Enhancement Association, and ourselves, we put a plan together where we agreed to plant a whole bunch of trees and brush on our side of the bank. We have significantly reduced the plugging up because of that issue. We don't have near the flooding that we've had. This whole area is what we call the fish trap drainage area. 2/3 of the drainage is up there in Canada. We started water quality sampling at the Canadian border as the water enters the United States. We found some significant impacts there. And to the Department of Agriculture's credit, they sent a letter up to Canada stating the numerous times that they did not meet water quality standards. We're trying to clean it up, but we can't clean up dirty water that comes down. Just a couple years ago, we had a mole drill a hole through one of the dikes in our lagoons. But our lagoon on the dairy here happened to be about 20 to 30 feet away from a drainage ditch along the road, which feeds into the Fish Trap Creek, which goes into the Nooksack River. I said, I don't need that liability. And at the end of 2014, we decommissioned our earthen lagoon and moved it away and built a new vertical upright of steel and cement so that there's no chance of a dike failure. The Trumpeter Swan Society has credited the dairy industry with the rebirth of the swan population. Wherever dairies thrive, trumpeter swans thrive. A lot of ducks and geese, and especially ducks, that do incredible damage to our fields during the winter, which we have no control over here. The trouble with ducks and stuff like that move into these fields at night and mow them down. What do? They create mud, so then you create surface runoff. But what's been farming out there all night? Ducks and geese, right? So do they potentially contribute to the bacteria load in the streams? These are all things that we need to identify and source. We've also entered an agreement within RCS for doing things like don't tear and sod up until after May 1 so that we protect bird nesting. We don't put any manure on ground 30 days prior to planting of any crops, just to make sure that it's in the ground and the nutrients are ready to be used. They're not just being thrown out there and wasted. Next spring, we're going to tear a whole bunch of fields up, and NRCS, in cooperation with the Conservation District, is going to do a edge of field monitoring study. And what they're going to do is we're going to reslope all the fields to go to 2 weirs. The weirs will catch 100% of the water, surface water, off if it gets to that point during the winter when the ground is fully saturated. And then we're going to monitor what's actually coming off, both in terms of sediment and coliform counts, fecal counts, things like that. And we can establish some data to come up with buffer rules that make sense, data that will help us do a good job of managing what we can do on our land and not contribute to poor water quality, and what we can do to still farm our farms and make a living. We've dairied pretty much all our lives, and I've kind of always had a mental goal in the back of my head was this, that the next generation will have improved cows and improved land.